everyone, my name is Sam, and thanks for checking out this video. Make sure to hit the subscribe button down below and give the video a thumbs up, and then hit the little bell too so that you know when a video's gone up. So I had a pretty good reading week in terms of just quantity read, and yeah, so lots to talk about because of the books. There are lots of books. So the first book that I read this past week was Asaph Shades by Amanda Foody, the ARC. I didn't actually enjoy Daughter of the Burning City, her debut work, so I wasn't really super interested in picking this up. But the cover got revealed, which kind of piqued my interest, and I'll put the cover right there. And I actually ended up finding one copy at a conference I went to, snatched it, just because I heard how high in demand it was, thinking, maybe I can give it to a friend that really wants it. And I ended up reading it and really thoroughly enjoying it. So our main character, N, I think is how you say her name. Her adopted mother has, gone on her one of many trips to the City of Sin, but she has not come back. And oddly enough, before she went on this specific trip, she warned her daughter that if she was not back within the certain time limit, that she was dead. So her daughter, knowing that this time limit has now passed, has the summer off from school, so she takes a ship and goes to the City of Sin, where she immediately finds out that people know her step/adopted mother's name, so she wants to know what is going on, and you find out about all the gangs going on, and there's casinos that also kind of have a war going on, there's power struggle, and then you find out about this thing called the Game of Shadows, or the Game of Shades or something like that. Our main character gets involved with one of the gang lords, Levi, to try and help her mother, and things kind of unravel from there, and we find out there's lots of lineage reveals, lots of gang conflicts, and you get a lot of the casino aspects of it. So all honesty, I look at this book and I think of kind of Ocean's 10, Six of Crows, Anastasia feels all kind of tied up together. I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. It's a really slow burning romance, which I really appreciated in this situation that our main character is in. I hate it when they just are stranded, left alone. All their parents, all their family is gone, and they meet the first dude and they're like, oh my god, I love you. I'm like, that doesn't seem healthy. It's a lot of really interesting history politics reveals that kind of continuously unfold as we go forward. There's a lot of frenemy ships, which I honestly really love, especially in a world like the City of Sin, where that makes more sense to me than ride or die kind of friendships for a lot of them. So I really enjoyed seeing the frenemy ships kind of change, and that everyone is kind of aware of why these relationships are there because they're mutually beneficial kind of thing. Yeah, the ending also left so much I'm just so excited for the sequel now. I know now technically I basically just have to wait longer than if I would have waited to read this book when it came out. But there's just a lot of family drama that is going to unfold, and kind of coordinating with the lineage reveals of one of the main characters. So me and my friend Amanda, not this Amanda, but a different Amanda, are continuously messaging. I'm oh my god, what if this happens? So we need the sequel. It is the first in a trilogy. I think this trilogy is called A Game of Shades. Game of Shades or Game of Shadows. And it was kind of a weird fact that I found out at the conference when I picked up the ARC, that this was actually the first book that she had written, and she shopped it around and no one wanted to pick it up apparently, which I don't even understand how that's possible. And then the publisher person that I was talking to was saying they actually just decided to pick up Daughter of the Burning City, and she offered to kind of make this kind of a deal with it, and they've since extended this to a trilogy. I'm just absolutely floored by that this didn't get picked up. But yeah, really enjoy it. I was not interested in it before, and I will actually be picking up a finished copy now and passing along the ARC to my friends. So 5 out of 5 stars, definitely recommend. I also reread A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, the first in the series, which is now going to be 6 books. This is part of my 2018 goals to reread this series early on in the year, just to get ready for I don't even know if it's technically the 4th book or if it's a novella. But A Court of Frost and Starlight is coming out in May, I believe, for my birthday month. So I just want to kind of refresh my memory. I'm total trash for this series, just trash for Maas in general. We should have shirts that say, or jackets, something that say that. If you don't know, I mean, the likelihood of no one knowing about this is low. But, our main character, Faye, it's kind of like a Beauty and the Beast retelling. It starts off that she accidentally kills a fairy that has been turned into a werewolf, and the fairy kind of lord in that geographic area finds out, gets angry, shows up, and kind of says, a life for a life, you become my servant. So she goes back, and, there's a lot of political unravelings. There's lots of different courts in the fairies, and obviously there's some romance. And this book, and then A Court of Mist and Fury, the sequel, will give you emotional whiplash. So make sure to have them, read them back to back. 5 out of 5 stars again. I love this book. I remember when I started it, people were like, okay, just be aware. A Court of Mist and Fury gets a million times better than A Court of Thorns and Roses. And I read this and I was like, why was everyone telling me that this was no good? I mean, Mist and Fury is better, but I mean, it's not a bad book by any means. So if you haven't read it, don't let the odd covers deter you. That's what deterred me for the longest time. I thoroughly enjoyed this series. It's total trash. I also ended up picking Sight Witch by Susan Dennard up. This is the illustrated novella that is kind of trying to hold us over until the third book, Blood Witch, comes out in the Witchland series. I actually didn't end up really giving this a star rating because I will, full disclosure, I honestly can't remember much about Truth of Witch and Wind Witch. It's just been so long since I read them, and there's just so much, they're complex worlds going on. So I am going to reread them probably closer to the end of the year once I'm done all of my 2018 goals rereads. I didn't totally love this novella. I don't know that it's necessary. I don't know that it really contributed anything. That's my thing with novellas when I read them. I understand trying to hold this over, but I mean, if it doesn't contribute anything, then it doesn't contribute anything, and I just spent money on something that does nothing. And I honestly can't remember maybe enough about Truth, Witch, and Wind Witch to know what the purpose of this was. So kind of that aside, I like the cover, actually. As you read it, you understand, different aspects of it. I really do like that aspect. I don't love people on covers, but I can deal with this one for sure. I think my biggest bone was the illustrations. When you are, especially right now, when you're releasing an illustrated edition, we're going to automatically compare you to things like, Harry Potter illustrated editions, the Language of Thorns illustrated edition, all that kind of stuff. This is not even remotely comparable. There's very, very few illustrations. The ones that are in here are clip arts. They're all just kind of sketch drawing designs. There's no color whatsoever. There's nothing kind of fun or quirky to give extra parts of it to justify the illustrations. It honestly maybe just seems like they threw the illustrations in to make it long enough so that people would actually feel the need to buy a physical copy. They just really didn't contribute anything, and they seemed super unnecessary. They didn't add anything. They weren't super special pretty to look at. I was just overall really, really underwhelmed by this book. I'm not totally in love with it the way I am with other illustrated editions of things. But yeah. Then I moved on to Jane Unlimited by Kristen Cashore. This was one of the weirdest books I've ever read in my life, and I even said that in my vlog. I'm going to try and summarize it, but this is a weird book. And I ended up giving it a 5 out of 5 stars. I want to buy my own copy now. It's a library copy. Legit, one of the weirdest books ever. Our main character is a poor girl in, I think, New York, her aunt has died when she was her guardian. Her parents died when she was a kid. She's working in a bookstore, living in a closet apartment. Her old high school friend, who is a bajillionaire kid, shows up and convinces her to leave her book job impromptu to come just hang out at their mansion in and around-ish New York, I think it is. And so she just goes. And she shows up, and then there's immediately this family's big money kind of involvement is with art dealing, and there's just a lot of weird, sketchy things going on. You immediately get thrown into this world of the servants and everyone, where you can just tell something's off and everyone's lying to each other, but they've almost been doing it for so long that it has to be an outsider perspective to come in to notice all of these kind of things. And so we switch from it being to a contemporary to a mystery to with family drama. Then it switches to focusing on the art thief and art theft, and then we switch to dimension jumping, and then there's dinosaurs. Oh, and the end too, there's traveling through paintings. It's just a very, very weird book. I could understand why people would be off-put by it. I am I think that niche market that I'm those people that I'm reading a book when I'm what the hell is going on? And it's it's because it's well written, and it's just the author's just got on some random strip that seems original to me. I'm all for it. If I don't understand legitimately what's going on and the writing is bad, then whatever. But this was my sweet spot. I legitimately know that I'm gonna have to reread this several more times in order to fully understand it and comprehend it. There's just so much going on. And like it almost seems like the Kingman in book form, like it's almost trolly of how many genres it's able to shove into one. Yeah, I don't know. If you like weird books, I would suggest giving this one a go. Then I reread The Heart of Betrayal by Mary Pearson, the second book in the Remnant Chronicles. I love this series. It's part of my 2018 goals to reread this one as well in order to get ready for Dance of Thieves to come out, which is a different series but set in the same world. So I'm just trying to reacquaint myself with all of the geography and political conflicts going on, and that is one thing that I do love about this book. It's not by any means a brand new fantasy. You know, our main character, Jezalea, runs away at the beginning of the book from an arranged marriage. She gets hunted by potentially, you don't know which one is which, but an assassin that's for hire to get rid of her now, and from the betrothed that she kind of didn't know but just like bolted and left. And at the end of the first book, you know, she was, you know, kind of kidnapped after that, and that is where this kind of goes, where she's brought to a different kingdom, and the kingdom is not great, and the kingdom is also, just by coincidence, happens to be killing off, like, bands and soldiers of her home kingdom, including her brothers. So there's issues there. Geo issues at the bare minimum, and we still have that assassin there, as well as the prince who's kind of like hiding that he's a prince now because he's in a different kingdom as well. And we start learning more about Jezalea's kind of like prophecy and powers that she doesn't think that she has, but she keeps being told that she has. And the ending of all the books is so good. It's just like you get the end, you're like, oh, I have to read the next book. So I mean, overall, it's not, like I said, it's not super original. I just thoroughly enjoy it. It's that, like, YA fantasy that's been done, but if you do it well, I can appreciate it. And that is why I love this series. So, 5 out of 5 stars still. I totally love it. Yeah, I'm super excited to pick up the third book. I also picked up my arc for Slight by Jennifer Somersby. I actually ended up DNFing this at page 20 or so. It was not bad. I can't review the actual content itself. The writing is just not something I enjoy. It felt very clunky to me. It didn't flow well, and it became a problem very quickly for me just because there is a lot going on in the first like couple pages, that so many characters are mentioned and their like kind of role and lineage and the setup in this whole thing that I can't keep track of who was going on. I kept getting distracted by the writing and couldn't get actually into the actual story. So I unfortunately had to DNF this, and I will pass the arc along to a friend or coworker. But maybe it'll work for you. It's just the writing was just not my taste, and I could tell that very, very quickly on. And the last book that I read this week was The Queen's Rising by Rebecca Ross. This is the first book, and I guess it's titled as an untitled trilogy on Goodreads. So, I guess it's going to be a trilogy. This is a debut work. I absolutely love the cover of this book. In the end, I think I ended up giving this book a 2.5, 3 out of 5 stars. Our main character is supposed to have a passion, like a specific power, that she can, kind of then be, like, taken in by family and used for that passion. And she doesn't seem to have zoned in on one passion the way that everyone else normally does. And then she has some family tie reveal. She doesn't know who her father is, and her mother's died, and her grandfather is hiding who her father is. And she just knows that she's from 2 different political geographical realms, which tend to be in conflict. So that is where we're at, and she's basically in her like mid to late teens by this point of the book, and things start to kind of go from there. I don't think this book was particularly bad. However, it has been done before and done better. It was definitely a debut work. The characters are very, very, very mundane. There's nothing particularly interesting about them, nothing particularly likable about them, nothing particularly memorable about them, so all of the things that happen to them on the side of good really don't make any sense. I'm reading this, I'm like, could you really not find anyone with any more skills or passion or like, charisma to kind of get these people in like a queen to kind of like get behind kind of situation? And I feel like it was just so distracting how little character and relationship development that happened that I could not get into anything, and it was so distracting it took away from any of the magic and that kind of stuff going on. I mean, it literally uses every kind of trope that I could really think of. Hot for teacher situation where no one apparently acknowledges the massive age gap that is happening in this situation. Check. Orphaned and hidden lineage reveals that she doesn't want to know. Check. Other teacher principal knows about it but wants to hide it to keep her safe. Check. Runs into hot for teacher situation once in the middle of a conflict. Check. Is helping queen. despite having zero character development, zero likability, suddenly becomes BFFs with. And both of them, once again, very mundane, have no recognizability outside of this book. Check. Despite having zero personality and characteristics, is somehow able to become ride or die relationship situation with her new foster family and basically every person that she interacts with and never has a conversation with. Check. I could see this book being a good like entrance to YA. Start off kind of low standards and just kind of get a feel of there and then kind of go up. I just found myself really underwhelmed by this book, and I think I just at my age and having read as much YA as I have, yeah, this stuff just really doesn't, I don't get super tons of enjoyment out of it, which I'm really sad about because like I said, the cover is absolutely beautiful and the design of this book is like my book goal. It's like there is a gorgeous, 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 gorgeous map, whoops, right at the front with so much detail to give you all of this information. And then there's like a table of contents and you've got the family trees and all of this information. And I think the author just took it and like kind of stumbled on the hurdles trying to get to the end and didn't use it to the fullest potential. Because I feel like if you gave this to some, like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of another fantasy author. I don't know, give it to Tracy Chee or Kristen Kishore and they could have done a lot with this. And you know, like I said, it wouldn't necessarily be original, but it would be good and enjoyable, whereas this just kind of stumbled along. So those are all of the books that I read this week. Make sure to check the description box down below for links to all of the books' Goodreads pages, as well as to links to all of my social media. If you follow me, I will follow you back.